Welcome to 5 Questions. Each episode we talk to a game developer about a recent game he's released. My name is Kevin King. I host a gaming podcast with my friend Jim Staholski. Today I'm speaking with Mikhail Popov, designer of TradeMarkville, which you can find at tmville.com. TradeMarkville is a game that sets up the fabled town of TradeMarkville as a place where once a word is spoken, it's banned and unable to be used by the populace. Players have pretty much 2 goals in TradeMarkville. One is to create new words to replace the old ones. An example could be the word cat becomes opposite of dog, all one word, no space. The second goal in TradeMarkville is to actually be the person answering those clues or those new words. So should you see a word called opposite of dog, all one word, no space, you would guess cat. Michael created the game in conjunction with his friend Paolo Petticini, whom he met at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. You can also find some of his work done on Darkcast and After Dark on darkstation.com. Where he's kind of the resident Persona 4 expert and enthusiast. Again, thank you for being here today, Michael. I appreciate it. Are you ready for 5 questions?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
All right. So let's start this thing. So, TradeMarkville came out pretty hot on the heels of King trying to copyright candy for its games, and I'm curious what was if that was the genesis of TradeMarkville. How did you hook up with Paulo of Mole Industria, and how quickly did it go from concept to final build?
So yes, TMV was originally. I'm going to refer to TradeMarkville as TMV for time brevity. TMV was originally going to be a Candy Jam entry. Candy Jam was a response to King trying to copyright and trademark, some like the words candy and I think saga. A lot of people were pretty unhappy about that and decided to do a game jam based on this whole situation as a response to it. A lot of Candy Jam's entries were using the word candy in the name or using candy in like the graphics or as part of the gameplay. Paulo decided to take a more conceptual approach and go for what is currently TradeMarkville. He usually cites because it's not just a response to the King situation, it's more of a response to this overall pattern of trademarking and trademark abuse by larger companies. Paulo usually cites this example of Monopoly, which is the board game that we associate with Parker Brothers and Hasbro. Now, originally it was actually called The Landlord's Game, and it was created in 1903 by Elizabeth Phillips, who intended it as an educational game to actually teach about the bad outcome and effects of Monopoly. Then Parker Brothers totally stole the idea, totally stole the game, started manufacturing it as Monopoly, and even in 1970s, this professor, I think, he published a game called Anti-Monopoly, and they sued him for using the word Monopoly in the name, and then that went to court and ended up being that they're totally valid, and they currently still hold the trademark on Monopoly. So even though they originally stole the game idea, they are actually just going after people for using a common English word, Monopoly. And to go back to the original question, how was Genesis and stuff for TradeMarkville, Paulo he made a call to possible collaborators who work with PHP and SQL, and at the time I was working on a project at work and I was deep into those technologies, So I answered the call, and the two of us got together, and we started working on TradeMarkville.
Nice. Okay. I'm
And then
curious.
it took a couple of weeks for us to finally get it. Like, took
Yeah,
a lot longer than.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking. From the moment you two paired up to the time that you guys published, how long do you think that time period took?
Like a month and a half, 2 months.
That's pretty quick, Bill. Okay. So yeah, you mentioned Monopoly, the kind of ironic name given the irony of that name, and it's led me to think about other kind of situations like that. Companies and generally people with positions of power, they've longed to try to find ways to kind of legally protect their intellectual properties. And this often comes down to like basically protecting the property's name. Basically, every company is just trying to protect its name. An example I always go to from my reporting years was Xerox would basically, if you use Xerox as a verb, you were going to get a letter from the Xerox company saying, please do not use Xerox as a verb, or else they'll lose their copyright to it because it becomes a dictionary term. And I'm curious what you think of the use of words or the protection of those words in the pursuit of financial gain. Like, what do you think of that? And specifically to kind of turn the tables on you a little bit. If someone were to create a game called Trademark Town, I mean, what would your reaction to something like that be?
To answer the first part, it depends, like if they're protecting a word that they originally came up with, but even then, for me, it comes back to like, is that really the best use of resources? Like going after people for using the name, is that really the best use of money and time of people? Like Marvel has this gigantic legal department, and they are notorious for just always like being on the lookout for people even remotely referencing one of their properties. And it's like, you guys are spending so much money on that and so much effort. Is it really worth it? I guess for them it is worth it, but at the same time, I don't know, just I see like a lot of things not have enough funding.
Is it free advertising? You'd think
Right.
it's free advertising, but I'm curious. It's as a word, it's hard to imagine a dictionary word like candy or saga.
Mhm.
I'm
Or like
curious-
Edge a couple of years back. It's been a big pattern in the industry.
So I would imagine you're not in favor of that, of people taking a dictionary term and turning it into a cash cow, essentially.
You're right. You're right. I'm not in favor of that. And if someone created Trademark Town, well, I don't know. I would imagine that Paula feels about it maybe similar or slightly different. But for me, my primary responsibility on Trademarkville was the engineering of it, and I kind of approached it from a slightly different perspective than he would, in that I would look at the objective quality of the game, like at the objective quality of Trademark Town app, and be like, oh, this is a total. Like, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you can curse whatever you want, man. It's
Okay,
free cut.
awesome.
I will want you to have a trademark on the words shit and fuck, though.
Oh, okay. So I gotta use poop and intercourse. I don't know.
But you can use them for now. You could use them for now.
I have your permission. Can you write me a?
We signed a waiver before all this, so.
Awesome. So like if someone made Trademark Town app and I put it on my phone, I loaded it up, and just turned out to be like the biggest piece of shit, like awful clone, I would just feel kind of sad and bummed out since my work inspired someone to do such a my work inspired poor craftsmanship. That would be a bummer for me. And if it turned out to be like this amazing thing, like super high polish, works 100% the way it's intended to be, like all the exploits are fixed, because there are a couple of things in Trademarkville that are that I would like to fix, but I don't want to at the same time. But like if it came out to be this amazing thing, I'd be into it.
So if it was trademark Vice City, you probably would like it. If it was like trademark
If it was trademarked by city, so like, what, there'd be a bunch of like coke and blow and hookers, and I probably wouldn't be into it actually. I would look down on that just from a moral perspective.
No, I guess what you're saying is if it was more, if they took your idea and made it a little more grand, or just did something awesome, something you respected, you wouldn't mind so much.
Yeah. I think like Ridiculous Fishing ran into this problem. Ridiculous Fishing, made by Vlambeer and Zach Gage. That game was originally a like free Flash game you could play in your browser, and then while they were working on the like super high polish iOS version, and I guess later on Android, some company just made like a really shitty clone of that game and started selling it like under a different name, and that gained a huge popularity, and like a lot of people are still playing that game as opposed to the actual real Ridiculous Fishing. And it's kind of a bummer for them to see people pay money for like this really shitty clone of their product, of their idea.
Yeah.
Also, I guess like if someone, so TradeMarkville, totally free to play, no ads. If someone made a thing that you pay for and also has ads in it, I would be kind of mad.
Well, those ads are copyrighted. So TradeMarkville, I read that, I think Paulo, or I don't know if I was reading you or Paulo, said that technically TradeMarkville could break someday, that under the weight of all the words submitted. And I'm curious, if it were to break, if it were to just stop working, would you fix it? And for you two, for you, maybe you specifically, is letting the game break kind of is that important to you? Keeping it broken, or maybe fixing it? Would that be more important to you? But keep the dream alive, keep the Ville alive.
Paulo has a sort of fascination with imperfect systems, and I don't know if TradeMarkville, like, there is a point when it'll become unplayable. I'm not sure if I would say it broke, but for a vast majority of people, eventually it'll just be completely unplayable because of the way that we do like checking for words. Every time someone typed a space or would submit a hint, it would have to go through the validation process. And at this point, we have like 20,000 trademarked terms. So their computer would have to go through all of those 20,000 words to make sure that they're not in their hint that they're submitting. And people with computers that are not as powerful would, like, I'm guessing their browser would just crash because it ran out of memory, or their computer would just like stop working because the processor was being taken up entirely by the browser. And then people who have more powerful computers, people who have more resources would be able to play the game and continue increasing their score, which is really analogous to the thing that we're emulating, because larger companies that have more resources, like more money, more bigger legal departments, they have an easier time navigating the trademarking system as opposed to smaller companies that are being like preyed upon. So that actually is a pretty nice analogy. We purposely designed that system where it's like at some point it's just too much.
You've created a caste system, essentially. You've created your own hierarchy, essentially.
Yeah, totally. Like players who have really beefy PCs with 16 gigabytes of RAM and really powerful quad-core CPUs. Well, I guess we're not using multi-cores, but whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, that answers that. So, recently I also read that Twitter suspended your account, and I was curious if that was just overuse, or if that was, or maybe that's this question, first, why was it suspended? Second, what were your feelings on being suspended? And third would just be how was that situation resolved?
So the Twitter situation, we originally imagined that Twitter account to be kind of the living dictionary. As the dictionary of the game evolves, then the Twitter account would reflect that. Also, it would notify people. It would act as a notification system for players. So when we launched it, that Twitter account would notify people through Twitter that their hint was solved. And then, because of the number of players, Twitter shut us down because we were like abusing their mention system. Then I took that functionality out and instead replaced it with there is a page that you can go to and view like the 20 most recent guesses. And now our Twitter account is just not active. Like it's online, it's back online. Like getting it back online was pretty easy. You just go into like the settings. You're told that your account has been suspended. You say, okay, I understand why. I'm not gonna make the same mistake again. Please unsuspend me.
So was it? Just so I have it clear. So it was like a bot issue. I mean, Twitter doesn't like bots, kind of thing.
Twitter doesn't like bots that tweet 200 tweets a minute, which is exactly what was happening.
Okay.
And then like most of those tweets were to people, and so their system immediately was like, oh shit, that's spamming. Even though we weren't like, I guess we were sort of spamming.
Well, your users were spamming, not you guys. You know?
Right.
How can you stop if it's popular? You know, they didn't stop Ellen. They're not going to stop Ellen's spot from being retweeted.
Exactly. But like, so the Twitter thing is kind of a non-issue. The more interesting thing was with Facebook. About a couple of days into TradeMarkville, Facebook sent us a message that said, "Hey, listen, we got reports of people posting like horrible things on your site, and to be fair, including the term, like in the first season of TradeMarkville, we included the term woman and didn't anticipate how horrible people's hints would be for that. We eventually took that term down and deleted those hints because some of those are just really, really bad. So Facebook was like, hey, listen, there's no way to report, offensive material on your site. You need to like implement that, or we're gonna turn off your app account. And like that would basically remove half of the way to play our game, because you can only play our game with your Facebook or Twitter account. So we took that down, and then actually ended up implementing a reporting system in the second season of TradeMarkville, which, if you see a cheating hint, or if you see like a very offensive thing, you can report people, and players can actually get banned if they get too many reports. And then also Facebook sent us a message saying, hey, you don't have a privacy policy on your site, which is really weird. So that was really fun. I had to research how to write a privacy policy, and I had to go through a generator and really specify a thing. So that was soul crushing.
See, you mean were they just looking for a disclaimer, essentially?
Yeah, it's here's the data that we're collecting. Here's what we're doing with it. Here's if you want us to delete your data. Here's how to contact us, and here's what would happen if you do. Also, if the government subpoenas us for information, I don't know. It's really weird. For Facebook specifically, because one, they let hate groups go free on their service. And then also they're not selling it, but they're giving up your information to NSA. So for this company that one, permits hate groups on its service, and two, also gives up all your information to the NSA, for them to be like, hey, listen, you need to like there is abusive content on your in your game, and also you don't have a privacy policy. It's kind of hypocritical.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what to say. I don't even know what to say to that.
But you know, like totally legitimate. Like like even after season 2 launched, I looked at some of the like we had a couple of users who got like auto banned, and I looked at some of their hints, and man, that shit is horrible. They wrote some vile shit.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that people. I'm really sorry that other players had to see those, because the only way for those like to get banned is for other players to see them and then report them. So I'm really sorry that some players had to experience that.
Yeah. No, I'm sure they understand. I'm sure they're not like, it's a free form. Look, you open up free form to the internet, and you're gonna get some weeds coming in there at some point.
Yeah, but like, it shouldn't be that way, you know.
It really shouldn't. But at some point, you open up the floodgates, you're gonna get some sludge. It's just how it goes. But hey, I'm sure no one playing is blaming you guys. What can you do? So, speaking of some of the language then used, some less salty language on TradeMarkville. I'm curious. I mean, two things. One, I mean, you mentioned users. I mean, essentially anyone can play TradeMarkville, and it's open to everybody in the planet right now. So you have 7 billion players essentially. Of those 7 billion players, what are some of the favorite words that have been made up that you personally liked, and is there any word that you've created, you specifically created, that you're proud of, and why?
So I wish we had 7 billion players, and in fact we have like 6,100. Funnily enough, 63% of those used Facebook to sign in, and 37% used Twitter, which is an interesting, like, I'm just going to go here on a little tangent. Yeah. It's interesting because Twitter allows you to like set permissions for your app, so you can say like so that your app will ask the user whether they're okay with having things read and written to their account. So like whether your app is allowed to tweet from the user's account. So we actually set it so that our app will only be able to read things like we have no interest in tweeting from people's accounts. Facebook, on the other hand, does not have that option. So I think when you try to sign in with Facebook, it'll say this app will have permission to post things under your name, which we have no interest in, but there's no way to like turn that off. And so the fact that we actually still have more Facebook users than Twitter by like 200% even is really fascinating to me from a privacy perspective. Now, question. Going back to the original question, my two favorite hints that people have submitted. One has been for dog, and they came up with mini wolf, which is adorable. I should turn on the And then
I really do like Mini Wolf.
Mini Wolf is so cute. It's adorable. And then for wine, which is in season 2, they came up with Giggle Juice, which is also really good.
I'm partial to that. Yeah, I can get down. I'm in wine country, so I'm in Giggle Juice country up there. So.
Yeah, and like also don't say it 3 times. Don't say Giggle Juice, Giggle Juice, Giggle Juice, because then a wino comes out and messes with your day.
I guess a bottle of Pinot appears in front of me. But
see, I was making a really old Tim Burton movie reference.
No, I know. So that what is there a word that you've made specifically that you're kind of proud of?
Oh no, I don't play TradeMarkville. I've played it enough during playtesting, and then I've been so involved with the behind scenes of it that I don't even want to look at it anymore.
Fair enough.
But then I'm also afraid of what if I'm the person that eventually breaks TradeMarkville? What if I'm that last straw on the camel's back? Like, what if I sign in and then post a hint, and then suddenly the entire system just crashes down?
Well, you have nobody to blame but yourself to fix it.
Right, and I have to fix it because like I was the source of it, as opposed to if I can just say, oh, it's everyone else playing the game that made the entire thing crash, then whatever, I don't give a shit. But if I'm that person, then I feel responsible. I've got enough on my plate.
well, fair enough, Mikhail. So that's pretty much it with 5 questions. I'm curious then, what's next for you work-wise? You got any other projects lined up?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of projects. I am currently leading a project called Welcome to Games, and it's set to launch later this year. We aim to be like a very friendly, very inclusive resource for people who are interested in getting into games but have no idea where to start. People who have never played a game before, or people who have been put off by like the culture surrounding games, whether it's the violence of gamer culture, or maybe it's like the marketing, seeing all those GTA ads on the screen, just seeing people getting maimed, and like that puts them off. So we just finished selecting our 36 games that we're going to feature to newcomers. Like we had very long deliberations about which games would, like, number one, we wanted games that would not offend anybody. So even something like Red Dead Redemption, that's a great game, but it is like there are groups that Red Dead Redemption hurts, and so that totally like got kicked out during the deliberations. So yeah, so that's going to be later this year. Very excited for that project. It's pretty cool. And
then outside of gaming, I mean, what else? Life-wise, what's in the what's in the cards?
Life-wise, this fall I'm going to be applying for PhD programs. So I just finished my master's, and right now I'm working, and decided that I want to get a PhD in statistics, or biostatistics, or statistical computing, or neuroscience. Like, I'm looking at various different things, but I want to become an even better expert in my field. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I can get into some of the schools in California and get back to the other coast where I can be closer to most of my friends and family.
Well, we'd welcome you with open arms out here, Mikhail.
And then, eventually, so after Welcome to Games is done, I want to get back to the game that I've been making before grad school, which is a turn-based strategy game. The main mechanic is time travel and time manipulation. So I am just dying to continue working on that, because TradeMarkville has reignited my interest in game development, and just not enough time. Just not enough time.
Well, that's the battle cry of all gamers. There's just not enough time to play them all, or do them all,
or make them all.
Make them all. Yeah. Well, thank you again for being on 5 questions. I appreciate it, man. So that's TradeMarkville for our audience at home, at tmville.com. You can also find Mr. Popov on Darkcast After Dark, on the Dark. Name's escaping me for the second here.
Dark Station.
Darkstation.com. Yeah, yep. Where he's Persona 4 expert. Again, thank you again, Mikhail. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. It's been great. Hopefully, I didn't blabber too much about pointless things.
Oh no, you were great. You're great, man.
Awesome.